AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from downtown Baton Rouge.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, man.
Shut up, kid. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Toby Tom Play. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there. Make it a good one. Shea Dixon in about 15 minutes from right now. The Saints have hired a former Falcons general manager to their front office. Got to get to that. Sean Salisbury returns in hour 3. Ton to do. Let's begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
With the Labor Day holiday, Brian Kelly did not have his Monday media availability. Instead, that was moved to Tuesday. So Brian Kelly recapped Clemson and looked ahead to Louisiana Tech. And there was a lot of newsy in this press conference. Kelly said point blank that he should have kicked the field goal at the end of the first half. They went by analytics, probably didn't consider the time on the clock, should have kicked it. He said they did speak to the league office about Berrien Brown's touchdown, that the execution of the call was actually correct by the letter of the law, but that the rule is fundamentally flawed if that's not a touchdown. I think we all agree with that. He disclosed Destin Hill, broken hand. I asked him, Destin Hill played 2 snaps, played 2 snaps, didn't return, broken hand, had surgery, and is going to miss this week, but expected to be back for Florida, which is wild. Destin Hill, a blocking wide receiver, so maybe you put a club on that thing and let him go wreck people. Cool. But we're not starting with any of that because Brian Kelly and Dabo Swinney have become the story today. Dabo was meeting with reporters at his media availability earlier on Tuesday. And do you have the question in this? Okay, no worries. The question that was asked was, how would you grade your team's performance? So Dabo starts to give a school grading analogy. And, well, listen.
I mean, if we make the first tackle, Wade's got the guy. He's got, I don't even know how his knee didn't go down. But without that run, like I said, the last 58 minutes is 2.8. And that is a physical group. It's a very smart quarterback. And that is a back. So they're going to be a problem. And they got some explosive dudes, and it was a hell of a game. It was a hell of a game. Down to the last play. Right out of the gate. It's like getting the final exam day 1 of class. They made a 65, we made a 58. Neither one of us were great.
It's like getting a final exam on the first day of class. I understand that analogy. It is a really tough assignment right out the gate. Tougher for LSU having to go on the road with so many new pieces. Clemson at home with all the returning starters. Still, tough assignment. And look, Dabo started there by giving a lot of praise. Caden Durham, LSU is going to be really tough. Oh, that's true. But to say they got a 68, a 65, we got a 58, neither was great. LSU went on the road and put your 3-year starter, 5th-year senior quarterback in a 3-hour chokehold. LSU with their new defense went on the road and made you quit running the football. You ran for 31 yards. I mean, you just quit trying. That's pretty good, as a matter of fact. LSU put up 350 yards of offense against a really good defense on the road. Pretty good. Better than a 65. So Brian Kelly at his press conference, after Dabo's comments had started making the rounds, Brian Kelly was asked about Dabo's comments, and he didn't shy away. He didn't give the PC answer. He closed his fist and punched Dabo right between the eyes.
I mean, I thought we dominated him in the second half. So he's either a really good grader for, giving himself a 58, or he's a really hard grader on us, or he didn't see the second half, which that might be the case. He might not have wanted to see the second half.
I think there is not a lot of love lost here. These two do, I'm sure, have some degree of professional respect. They played 4 times when Brian Kelly was at Notre Dame, once each in South Bend and Clemson. They played in the ACC championship game during the COVID year when Notre Dame was eligible for the ACC championship, and they also played in the college football playoff. But I'm going to tell you where I think that's rooted for Brian Kelly is the A.J. Halsey stuff last week. Dabo disclosed on Thursday of last week that, yes, he turned in LSU for the A.J. Halsey thing. He's the one that notified the NCAA, made them aware. And I'm going to repeat what I said last week, which is it was right that A.J. Halsey was suspended. He was ejected for fighting. He has to serve the suspension. I'm totally fine with that. The problem is Clemson waited until the Wednesday before the game when LSU had been practicing A.J. Halsey without any knowledge of this all along. That's Bush League. That's gamesmanship at its best or its worst, however you want to phrase it. And I think that professionally did not sit well with Brian Kelly. That's my guess. I haven't asked Brian Kelly that question. That's my guess. That's a sticking in their craw. And then for this to happen on Monday and Dabo to give a veiled compliment, a backhanded compliment to LSU is, I don't think that's that well with Brian Kelly. The most interesting part of this, however, and by the way, I think LSU and Clemson could very well see each other again. I don't think that I'm going out on a limb. Clemson's a really good team. I still think they're going to win the ACC. I'm not buying Miami after beating Notre Dame. I don't know how good really Notre Dame is after losing a bunch from last year. Redshirt freshman quarterback and all that stuff. Miami's probably going to be pretty good. I don't think they're going to be great. I don't know what else is really there in the ACC. Great win for Florida State against Bama, but is Florida State great? Is Bama not good? Probably a little bit, maybe both, somewhere in between. I still think Clemson wins the ACC, is going to be in the playoff, and there's a chance these two teams could play again down the road. And I said before this one that if they play again, I think LSU would dog walk Clemson the second time. I didn't like LSU in the first one just because of how tough of an ass that was going on the road, all the new pieces, first game, everything, and LSU went and aced the test. They play again, I think LSU wins in a landslide. But so they're not done potentially seeing each other down the road in this one. But the thing that's maybe most interesting to me is the national conversation around Brian Kelly. Right before I came on, I got a tweet from a guy named Michael who said, oddly enough, this seems like the most likable Kelly has ever been to me. Gee, I wonder why, Michael. Could it be that he's wearing a new sport coat? Could it be that he got a fresh haircut? Little loose today? Or maybe it's just because he went on the road and beat Clemson 17-10 for the first season opening win since 2019. LSU's ranked in the top 5, and they're basically on all the odds, a virtual lock to make the college football playoff. Maybe that could be the reason. Because I'm here to tell you, Coach, not Coach Kelly, just calling you Coach in the way that Ronnie Rance and baseball guys and Terrio call everybody Coach all the time. I'm here to tell you, this is how Brian Kelly is all the time. I listen to every word this man speaks into a microphone. This is how he is. bad dad jokes, gives you honest answers to questions. He curses walking out of the press conference almost every time. Not on the mic, but when he's talking to us as he's away from the... he did it again today. I posted a video. I asked him about getting trucked by the ref. He gave an explanation. Really good one. As he's walking out, he goes, don't give me that 60-year-old BS, but he said the word. That's who he is. It's just when you're not reaching the level that many fans would like on the field, you're going to criticize those things. This was the same thing with Les Miles all those years. When Les, early in his tenure, was winning, it beat Nick Saban in 2007, won the national championship, people were making shirts. Our idiot is smarter than your genius. LSU fans were wearing shirts like that. And then whenever the defense faded a little, they stopped throwing the football, they started losing 3-4 games a year, everybody started criticizing Miles. The buffoon who the weird syntax, eats grass all the time. It's all centered around what happens on the field. But I'm here to tell you, as a guy that covers this team and is around him a lot, that's what he is all the time. It's actually really refreshing to have a coach that behaves like an adult and will answer questions. Honestly. Even when he knows something like that is going to go viral. It's just he ain't going to get blowback from his fan base because he's got the cloud of having just beat Clemson. So I don't think Dabo's going to respond to these comments. Hopefully that's the end of it at this point. But I'm just here to tell you, that's who Brian Kelly is all the time in press conferences. Take it from someone who listens to literally every word he says into a microphone. All right, it's after further review. Shea Dixon's going to join us next. Our show opens brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. Home opener this weekend, LSU and Louisiana Tech. You're going to be tailgating. Make sure you got plenty of delicious, ice-cold, refreshing Bud Light, the official beer of the LSU Tigers. Remember, you can get Bud Light at great local retailers in the officially licensed white LSU can and aluminum bottle. That is a hat tip to LSU's great tradition of wearing white jerseys at home. You can see the bottle. We got them on set here, but the 12-ounce cans, the 16-ounce aluminum bottles, if you're going to be tailgating this weekend in and around Tiger Stadium, make sure you get the official beer of the Tigers in the officially licensed can. Bud Light, drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of the AFR. Okay, we'll knock out a quick break. Tuesday shows are powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. When we come back, Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger, is with us. LSU, Tristan Keys, 5-star, flips to Tennessee. What happened? How did they make up for it? We'll discuss next on AFR.
After further review.
GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com. They are complete employer solutions, business owners, hiring managers, HR managers, operations managers. If you're the person in your business responsible for finding the right people, for hiring, and you keep running into roadblocks where you struggle to find the best people, you struggle to find reliable people that will stick and stay and be productive within your business. Maybe you're talking about skilled blue-collar labor, and sometimes you're having an issue finding people that will show up on time. Or maybe you have issues like a broken-down car. They lack transportation. Maybe there's a court date or something coming. Whatever. One of the things that sets Glow Resources apart that they're experts at is knowing the right questions to ask during the interview process to eliminate all those potential hurdles. You got to learn more. Be more efficient, maximize productivity within your workplace. Let Glow Resources help. GLO, glowresources.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Rolling along here, Tuesday edition of AFR. Hope everybody had a fantastic Labor Day. We were here, and I'll tell you, it was a delight to do a Monday Labor Day show after an LSU win, something we haven't been able to do in about a half a decade. Tuesday means we visit with Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Shady, how are you, man?
I'm feeling like you. You know what's nice is to open up a week, the first week of the season, and run a message board that is not melting down because they've lost the opener for the 6th year in a row now. So we're both living large, Matt.
What has been
And we don't even play for the team.
I know. Well, when you make your life, when your livelihood involves covering the team, a lot of what you do revolves around the happiness surrounding their success and the misery around their defeat. So I'd prefer the happiness and the success naturally. What about recruits? What were the recruits' reaction to the game Saturday night?
Well, I'm not sure if you know or you saw it, or if many saw it, but Lamar Brown, that Baton native 5-star, made the trip over to Clemson, watched it in person. And right when the game ended, I think he had the tweet ready, fired it off, and just said, "This is why you come to LSU." And look, you can go top to bottom here with guys we've caught up with that are major targets for him, Matt. Ahmad Hudson, who's going to be one of the best tight ends to come out of Louisiana in a long time, coming out of Ruston, talked it up in a big way, and he kind of said, look, and he's not committed to LSU right now, but I do think he ultimately will at some point. But he said, look, it was intense because even before I thought about playing college football, LSU was my favorite team, so I just watched them every weekend. Now I'm like one of their most coveted prospects, and I'm watching it, and I'm even more nervous. So he had a good quote and just said, Coach Kelly says, told him after the game, he's not playing around this season. So bold statement there. Easton Royal over at Brother Martin, who's going to be the best receiver in the state for next year, could be one of them this year, said that, hey, look, it just shows what Nuss can do when LSU can win big games. And he's talked so much about, the pitch from LSU being the wide receivers and the pedigree and the NFL development. And half of his quotes are about the defense. So I think so many of these kids, even on offense, said, boy, LSU looking kind of attractive now that they've got not the 130th defense, but one of the best. And a lot of quotes, I'd say, that came back to us Matt, where we found out who the real Death Valley was, and they just left it at that. So from commits to top targets, there was for the first time in 6 years, I got to receive messages back that were positive about LSU's win.
It is refreshing on many fronts. And obviously this will shape LSU's season as they're now a betting favorite to make the college football playoff, which, man, that'd be a fun run to make. Something that wasn't quite as fun is at the end of last week, 5-star wide receiver Tristan Keys, the number one receiver in the country, decommitted from LSU. He flipped to Tennessee. Shea, how did this all go down?
Tennessee had been recruiting him heavily for just as long as LSU, and I'll print the shirts. It's my motto in recruiting: watch what they do, watch what they do, not what they say. And he said, I'm committed to LSU. I'm firm. At the same time, he committed to LSU in March, and then he went on a wave of unofficial visits, and then he spent all of June on official visits to Tennessee, A&M, Miami, LSU. He was going to go to Bama and couldn't even fit it in. And then we hit that 2-month-long dead period, and I think Tennessee really ramped things up in a number of ways. He's got a high school deal with Adidas. That expires in December. I think that plays a small role in this one. And he's got some good relationships there, just like at LSU. And ultimately, I think that between conversations he had with his camp and those around him, that he felt like, all right, I can flip. And Tennessee kind of drummed it up as, hey, look, we just got the highest ranked commitment in the history of the program at receiver. So they're throwing that pitch around as well. And it stings. You've lost the number one wide receiver in back-to-back years from border states. But let me give you the good news, Matt. LSU never lacks for receivers, and Louisiana produces more receivers than anybody. So they've got the two best receivers in the state already committed, and we'll see where they go from there.
Will they look to add a receiver to replace Keys in this class?
I think they do, Matt. Yeah, I can't give you the exact name because I think there's going to be a chance for them to watch these guys for about a month, 3 to 4 games as seniors, and then say, okay, let's make a move on this guy or that guy. But at the same time, which is no shocker, some of these guys on the team are getting older, and they're going to need to go into the portal. And, much like they have in recent years, they'll grab a guy or two who ends up being an impact player on the team. I mean, I think people forget Aaron Anderson and Xavier Thomas are probably your two best receivers this weekend. They're both transfers. You just presume that they're from Louisiana and that they were always here, and that wasn't the case. They went to other SEC schools. So I think they'll look for a high school receiver to add to this, but also then look back into the portal.
Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. I guess the other thing that's interesting about the Keys conversation is, Shea, as I was told, LSU had $1 million committed for Tristan Keys. So now that money, in theory, frees up. Any idea what they might try to do positionally, where they might try to address?
I think, look, we talked about flipping a quarterback, but they had already positioned themselves on that front, whether it was NIL, rev share, the pitch, all that. So you're covered there. But it does bring up something that got brought up this weekend, which was Bryce Underwood makes his debut, starts at Michigan. But the domino of when he left, a lot of that money, Matt, you know it, went into the portal guys. And what did they do in the portal? They got great players on both sides, but a lot of guys on defense who very clearly helped them out. So can you find that same sort of carryover silver lining in losing keys? Sure. I think that now you have some more wiggle room to go out there and if it's not a high school guy, spend a little bit extra in the portal that maybe you weren't budgeting for before.
The Tigers will play their home opener this weekend with Louisiana Tech coming in. Finally, now that we've flipped the calendar to September, that 2-month-long dead period we talked about is finally lifted, and they can start recruiting again. What are we anticipating this weekend with the home opener and Tech coming in?
Yeah, I'll have a visitor list on the Bengal Tiger, and then we'll chat about that on Game Day Radio this weekend of who is confirmed to come in. But even though it's La Tech, and it's not some marquee SEC game like they will have coming up, what you mentioned, 2-month dead period, means nobody's been on campus since June, which is in summer camps, or some kids not since the spring. So they're going to have a really big visitor list with the combination of guys who have committed over the past 6 months, and then some guys are still working on in this current class, which is only a handful, but then also looking ahead to 2027, this is when you start to build momentum. When you get into that new season, those guys are juniors. So barring guys having Saturday games, I haven't looked at all the high school schedule, but I would expect a lot of 2027 kids from Texas and LSU to be in for this one. I know that their invite list is a very, very big one.
He'll have that list over the visitor list over at On3, the Bengal Tiger. When Shea? Thursday, Friday?
Yeah, we'll drop it Thursday. Sure, why not? Put a date on it. Let's say Thursday is when we'll drop it. But yes, I think your local commits, all of them will be there. Blaine Bradford will probably be there because Jacob Bradford will be playing. So you name it, Louisiana. I bet that player will be on campus.
Shea Dixon, On3, the Bengal Tiger. Y'all get him at Shea Dixon. Always appreciate the time, man. Thank you.
Always better after a win, Matt.
Oh, that is so true. Make sure you get Shea at Shea Dixon. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. They were open yesterday on Labor Day. Never mind that it was a holiday. It's always a great day to get by South Point Volkswagen. And if you can't get by the dealership, no worries. You can shop them online at southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. You know, one of the things that's so unique, kind of in a literal sense, only one, with South Point is the whole vibe around driving a Volkswagen. Like, Volkswagens are fun to drive, and they sell that fun lifestyle, and they're fun to deal with. You know, you walk into the front door of the dealership there at South Point Volkswagen. On the left, they've converted an old VW bus into a photo booth. So you want to hop in there, take some photos, let your kiddos do that while you make a test drive. You can do it at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland, or southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com for South Point Volkswagen. All the style, feel, performance of luxury without the cost, and, of course, the great safety as well. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction? All right, it's After Further Review. We will knock out a quick break, go around the SEC. Mississippi State inadvertently, incidentally, I should say, beat Southern Miss this weekend, and the Southern Miss staff made some interesting comments about Mississippi State, which might give you a little peek behind the curtain of their level of commitment to becoming not only relevant, but potentially competitive within the SEC. We'll explain. We'll get to that. And the Saints have hired a former Falcons GM to the front office. Talk about that in 30 minutes from right now. Ton to do, and glad you're here. It's AFR.
AFR. After Further Review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Plowing these fields in the hot summer sun.
Mississippi State played a road game this weekend in Hattiesburg against Southern Miss. Why, I have no idea. No SEC team should ever play a game in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, just like Missouri should never have gone and played at UMass last year. It's a fundamental absurdity. I understand why some of them do it. They do it for a 2-for-1. Go schedule 2 versions of UMass and play all those games at home. Whatever. Anyway, as embarrassing as it is to see an SEC school play in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, it would have been even more embarrassing had the Bulldogs lost. They did, however, win the game 34-17. Interesting. That, by the way, that was a 13-10 ball game at half. And then State blanked them 21-0 in the third quarter. We'll see year 2 under Jeff Lebby. And I understand, look, LSU and State have a long history. That is the opponent LSU has played more than any other in its football history. But with the new expanded Southeastern Conference, LSU and State now didn't play last year, won't play this year. And we'll see if they rotate back on or how often that game may happen moving forward. As I say, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, and you're going to lose some of these games and whatever. But I did find it interesting because Charles Huff, who's the head coach of Southern Miss, after the game, kind of gave this is at his Monday press conference, sort of gave an excuse/explanation, maybe explanation/excuse for why they lost the way they did.
They spent $15 million on O-line, D-line. And second half, they should get a return on their investment. We're built pretty good, but we're not built for that league. And in that league, they wear you down. And you got to get out in front of them a little bit to kind of, negate that.
$15 million on the offensive line, defensive line at Mississippi State. First of all, if Mississippi State spent $15 million on that offensive and defensive line, that is not money well spent. I also do not believe Charles Huff is accurate in saying $15 million. However, I do think in this era, the NIL era, anybody can throw out any number and it's just sort of like believed because nothing is officially reported. This isn't the NFL where you have a salary cap and contracts are made public. Or like at a state university where a coach's salary is made public because it is public record. Now, I will be fascinated in the revenue share era if those student athletes, because that's like, will there be a line item in an athletic department budget? Because remember, revenue share is money from the athletic department being shared with the student athlete. Will there be line items, not just say the $20.5 million, but for every single student athlete what they make? That will get really interesting. That still doesn't tell the whole story of NIL, third-party NIL, everything on top of revenue share as things are built out. But all this to suggest, if Mississippi State did in fact spend $15 million in NIL on their offensive and defensive line this year, it does speak to a different level of commitment that program is making. I'll remind you, LSU, Brian Kelly said on the record, they're about $18 million into this roster. I don't mind telling you at all, and I know this for a fact, that last year, LSU, through the collective and NIL spending, spent $5.5 million on that roster. So you're talking about a almost 4X from a year ago in spending. Why did LSU look so much different against Clemson? Because that's what a $20 million roster should look like, right? Mississippi State's don't look nothing like that. So did they actually spend that much money? Or, which would be another interesting conversation baked into all of this, is, and I'll give you an example of what just happened with LSU in recruiting recently with Ja'Kai Anderson. Is it that Mississippi State's, and I'm just using State, not as a shot at State, just because this is the example we're talking about, but is Mississippi State's $15 million not going to get them as much as LSU's 15 would get? What I mean is, let me use Ja'Kai Anderson. So Ja'Kai Anderson from New Orleans, McDonough 35, who just transferred to Edna Carr, by the way. Garland Gillen told me this. Like, seriously, why not? Anyway, so Ja'Kai Anderson was committed to LSU, and he was the fourth highest rated commitment in LSU. The fourth highest rated receiver commitment when you had Tristan Keys and Jabari Mack and Kenny Darby, and then Ja'Kai Anderson was the fourth. He was the fourth at his position in the LSU class. Well, he goes and is recruited by SMU, and they say, hey, we'll make you our number one receiver commit. So in the rev share era, if you could go to LSU and be paid as the fourth best receiver, or go to SMU and be paid as their best receiver, well, that's where you start to see the gap in the roster. The guy who would have been the number 4 receiver in LSU class making number 4 money is now the number 1 receiver in the SMU class making number 1 money. That's the fascinating part of how all this is going to shake out. And that may be where we see the discrepancy in roster. So I don't know if Charles Huff is right that Mississippi State spent $15 million on its offensive and defensive lines. Like, that feels inaccurate. I don't know. I'm telling you candidly, I don't know. That feels inaccurate. That feels inflated. But if that is the number, it shows 2 things. 1, State's commitment financially to trying to be good, but 2, the gigantic discrepancy still, even when they're spending that much money between the haves and the have-nots. Because what may end up, if money all else is equal financially, what may end up being the difference is history, tradition, opportunity to win, facilities, all the things that used to matter in recruiting. Something to file away. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Rouse's. Man, first home game of the year this weekend in Baton Rouge. Rouse's is helping you cover the spread all season long. Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Of course, first home game for the Saints as well this weekend. Rouse's helping you cover the spread. If you're going to be out there tailgating Saturday in Baton Rouge, Sunday for the Saints and the Hoodats, make sure you get by Rouse's. Whatever you need. Party platters, the sandwich trays, the meat pies, the ribs, the little mini muffalettas, cheese trays. They got everything. Your beer, your water, your wine, your bourbon. They got all of it. You need your dessert trays that you can just grab and go. They got it at Rouse's. If you want a beautiful centerpiece for your tailgate, their floral department is awesome. It's purple and gold or black and gold flower arrangements. They got you. It's at Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints, with 70 locations from Lake Charles to Orange Beach, and, of course, celebrating 65 years in business. It's Rouse's, still family-owned and operated. Donnie, third-generation CEO. Rouse's, this feels like home. All right, do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference, the Ole Miss Rebels.
Lane Kiffin has revealed that defensive back Jalen Braxton missed week 1 with what he described as a medical situation. Didn't go into any more detail. Braxton played in 2 games last season due to a knee injury that he suffered against Arkansas. He was freshman All-SEC the year prior with the Hogs before going to Ole Miss.
Texas A&M!
Aggie safety Dalton Brooks expected to be available to make his season debut Saturday against Utah State. Mike Elko confirmed the news. Brooks didn't play in A&M's opener against UTSA. He was watching in street clothes. As a sophomore last year, became a pretty key contributor, played in all 13 games with 8 starts and was second on the team in tackles.
The Missouri Tigers.
Eli Drinkwitz updated the injury status. Quarterback Sam Horn and kicker Blake Craig doing so on Monday. Said Sam's got an injury. It's going to keep him out for an extended period of time. Not going to get into specifics. However, Horn did injure his right leg on a design run early in the opener against Central Arkansas on Thursday. Meanwhile, Blake Craig, the kicker, he is done for the year. Knee injury, covering a kickoff. That's why Missouri went into the junior college ranks and plucked a place kicker out of JUCO.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
David O'Kee. Sam Pittman updated, said he will not play this weekend against Arkansas State. Suffered an injury against Alabama A&M, and good for Sam Pittman getting Alabama A&M and Arkansas State in the first 2 weeks. Get those wins while you can, because they're going to be tough to come by moving forward. O'Kee had 22 tackles a season ago.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Mark Stoops was asked about Zach Calzada and replacing him with Cutter Boley. Said it'd be premature. Kentucky opened the season with a close win over Toledo. By the way, pretty much all of the odds makers had Toledo in that game with the points. It was almost a consensus. Hopefully you cash that ticket. So I got to pay attention. Anyway, Calzada was 10 of 23 for 85 yards. 0 of 8, however, on 20-yard throws, and 1 of 11 on throws that went 10 yards downfield. He stunk. So Stoops was asked about Cutter Boley replacing him, said they still have a lot of confidence in Zach Calzada, thinks he'll do well, but something to watch as they move forward if you care to watch anything having to do with Kentucky whatsoever.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
And Hezekiah Harris out of Huntsville, Alabama, 4-star edge for the 2026 class. He's committed to Tennessee, flipped from Auburn to the Vols. He was committed to Auburn for more than a year, choosing Auburn over Florida and Tennessee. He's the number 100 overall prospect in the country, the 13th best edge rusher, 6'5", 235. He's now Tennessee's 25th commit for 2026. All right, there you have it. That is around the SEC. Our Tuesday shows are powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Hey, remember, home game this weekend. If you need your generators, Sunshine's got you covered. SunEquip.com, SunEquip.com. You need those fans, power sources for your tailgate, SunEquip.com. Get on by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Yeah, they got deer. Tractors, combines, all your farm equipment, but you know that. They got zero-turn mowers, gators, and things for your tailgate like generators that we talked about. So get on by and see our friends at Sunshine. Find the location nearest you at SunEquip.com, SunEquip.com. They are a proud partner of LSU Athletics at Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. All right, y'all. It's after further review. I'm glad you're hanging out with us. We're not got our final break of hour number 1. In about 15 minutes, we'll talk about the Saints bringing a former Falcons general manager to the staff. Also, next hour, I do want to delve a little bit into 2 other things Brian Kelly said. One, receiver Destin Hill, broken hand. He's going to miss this week, had surgery, and probably, though, it sounds like they're trying to get him to play against Florida. We'll delve into that coming up here in about 30 minutes from right now. And Ashton Stamps did not take a defensive snap for LSU on Saturday. I asked Brian Kelly why, and he gave a very candid answer. We'll get to that coming up next hour as well. We're glad you're with us. It's AFR.
AFR.
If your AC isn't cooling like it should, or maybe it just went kaput, call River City's 1 Hour Air. 752-0001, 752-0001, 752-0001, or 1hourbr.com. Spell it out, O-N-E, 1hourbr.com, where they're always on time, or you don't pay a dime. You know, I love sharing that piece of it with you because they're so customer focused that, yes, they work nights, holidays, weekends. I tell you that all the time. If it's a night, holiday, weekend, your AC goes out, call them. Like, you're not waiting until Monday to the next business day. No, they'll come out that day. River City's 1 Hour Air. But also, their commitment is to be on time. And so they schedule time to be at your house. If they're 1 minute late, you don't come out of pocket 1 cent. That's their commitment to you. They know your time is valuable, and they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. 752-0001 for River City's 1 Hour Air.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
I make a little room and she climbs on.
Well, we'll just keep working and keep grinding away. Well, we're better than what we were tonight, but we have to go out there and show that and prove it. So nobody's going to do it for us. We'll have to do it ourselves, and that's what we're going to do.
That's Bill Belichick after his North Carolina Tar Heels took it on the chin. Man, it started so promising, too. Admittedly, so Jimmy was here yesterday for Otterlocks, and he liked North Carolina, and I did too, by the way. On Friday, which we always go through our picks, I picked Carolina to win the game outright. I thought, look, my feeling was greatest coach of all time. He'll find a way to win that opener at home. Tons of emotion. Jimmy had Carolina plus 3.5, and then also like the first half under, which was 26.5. And that looked like it was going to just cruise to a winner. And then Gio Lopez, the former South Alabama quarterback who played in Tiger Stadium last year, if you remember, and transferred to North Carolina this offseason. Gio Lopez throws a pick six with about 4 minutes to go in the half. And then Carolina gets the ball back. They punt again, and TCU goes and kicks a field goal, and the over hits with 27 points. A terribly bad beat on that first half under. So a double whammy on the game last night. So admittedly, I'm a bit salty. I was surprised, though. The game started with North Carolina getting the ball and like surgically right down the field and scored, then forced a quick punt by TCU, and that was about as good as it went. Belichick was also asked, kind of what went wrong for his team.
Yeah, multiple things. Anytime you give up 2 turnovers for touchdowns offensively, that's not good. We gave up several long plays on defense, where they gained a lot of yards on one play. So just too many of those. There wasn't any one thing. It was a combination of multiple things. Too many 3-and-outs, too many long plays on defense, and then 2 turnovers. Well, we had 3 turnovers, but 2 turnovers, touchdowns. You can't overcome that.
I will be really curious to see the reaction here because for Belichick coming from an NFL background, if you lose a game like that, things aren't going well, you cut guys. You look at free agency. You make a trade. Like how you build a roster is different. And you don't have that opportunity in college. The roster you got, when you tee it up and kick it off in your season opener, that's your roster. That's it. Now, I will say, 2 things. Number one, the video that surfaced of him, of his girlfriend, the 24-year-old Jordan Hudson, talking to him on the sideline during the game, that's a problem. Like, I've covered a lot of coaches and a lot of sports. I can't ever remember in any sport where a coach, in any sport, a men's sport, a women's sport, college pro, where a coach's significant other was on the field during the game talking to the coach during the game. Like, that's a problem. I have no problem with, like, all the people throwing shade at Belichick for dating a 24-year-old. God bless you. I tell you this much. I'd rather him at 73 dating a 24-year-old than cheating on his wife. Like, he's a rich old guy. There's a hot young girl that wants to hang out with him. God bless you, man. It's America. That's what you want to do. She keeps you young. If y'all are happy, I'm happy for you. There's no shade or judgment on that whatsoever. Like, I'd rather that than dudes that are out there, like, running around behind their wives' backs. Like, that feels pretty obvious to me. The other thing, though, that I thought was an overt positive was Max Johnson. If you didn't see this at the end of that game, so Max Johnson, the former LSU quarterback, who, of course, transferred to Texas A&M and then to North Carolina, Johnson last year suffered a gruesome leg injury at the beginning of the season. Some of you remember this. Some of you might not have been aware of this at all. Sort of an out of sight, out of mind type thing. But Max Johnson suffered a devastating injury where, as they refreshed on the broadcast yesterday, he almost lost his leg. There was conversation about amputation. Well, not only is he walking, he's back playing, and when Gio Lopez and everything just unraveled on North Carolina, they put Max Johnson in, and in his first drive, he took North Carolina right down the field and scored a touchdown, which was great to see. Now, that was the only other touchdown they would score. That was late in the third quarter. But I guess it's one of the interesting things where you go spend a lot of money in NIL, in the transfer portal, on a guy like Lopez to come in as your quarterback, but then a veteran like Max Johnson comes in, has a lot of poise, and leads them right down the field. They probably have a little bit of quarterback competition. I'm curious if Johnson doesn't end up winning that job starting and maybe leading them to a bit more stability than they otherwise would have had. It's going to be interesting there in Chapel Hill just to see how year one of the Bill Belichick experiment goes. We're brought to you by Shaw Bill's Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com, with locations all over South Louisiana. ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Name brand tires at wholesale prices. I was thinking about this story. My sister-in-law had a leaking tire. She brought it to Shaw Bill's, not knowing what was wrong. And they patched the tire, sent her on her way, didn't charge her anything. And she's like, really? Nothing? And no, they don't charge for repairs. It's just something that they've done for more than 50 years, because when they opened their doors in 1968, Mr. Charlie said this is just the right thing to do for people. And so they do, and they've earned a tremendous amount of business and goodwill and equity with people over the years because of things like that. They're the best. It's Shaw Bills. ShawBillsTire.com. Shaw Bills, where we keep you rolling. All right, y'all. Saints hire a former GM to their front office. We're talking about it next.
AFR.
As we wrap up hour number one, I want to remind you about Our Lady of the Lake Championship Health Partner of LSU Athletics. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. That's, of course, what we are fond of saying and what they are fond of saying. And while I talk plenty about the relationship with LSU and Our Lady of the Lake. As a matter of fact, I was driving down Nicholson, leaving the Brian Kelly press conference today, and in the shopping center on Nicholson, directly across from Tiger Stadium, there's the Our Lady of the Lake clinic right there that, of course, caters to the LSU students right there on campus. If it's the student athletes, if it's the general student body, or if it's everyday champions like you and me, Our Lady of the Lake is there to help, but not just LSU. And in Baton Rouge with the Regional Medical Center, the Franciscan Missionaries Our Lady Health System is a multi-state health system with hospitals and clinics all over, and they are investing and committing $250 million to upgrading those facilities. It's Our Lady of the Lake.